If you get a divorce, you realize you're going to be lonely. Do you really want to be alone for the rest of your life? You know, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. What if you never find someone else? What will you do? You're going to die alone with your cats. Have you ever had any of these ridiculous statements said to you? I'm sure you've seen them on social media. They're all over the place lately, and they make me laugh. If you've heard them, stick around. I'm going to unpack the truth about the difference between being alone and being lonely. And we're also going to talk about finding yourself again after divorce.
Hey, beautiful disaster. Yeah, you. Here's the deal. You don't need to have your life together to start taking it back. You are not too messy, too broken, too old, or too late to start over. This podcast is where we turn your chaos into clarity, your heartbreak into healing, and your mess into your magic. I'm Marilee Grace, and together we're rewriting the story loudly, boldly, and unapologetically. Buckle up, gorgeous. It's your time to rise.
Hello and happy Friday. I am Marilee Grace, and you are listening to Okay, so here's the deal. And I am ready to have some fun with this topic. But before I head into the topic, I want to just cover a couple of things. I know episode 2 and episode 3 sound was kind of a little bit wonky. I have to tell you, that mic of mine was not working. Try as I might, I couldn't figure it out. I got very flustered. I got very frustrated. And so I was kind of under a time crunch and I had to get them recorded. So I apologize for the audio. I think this mic is much better. You just have to deal with the little changing colors. I don't know. When I bought it, I guess I didn't realize that it had colors. But oh well. I hope it just always blends with everything. We'll see. And I also have to tell you, sometimes when I talk with my hands, and you know I do, and I do all sorts of things like this, I lean on my table and it sometimes makes my camera shake a little bit. So I apologize for those of you watching on YouTube. I hope I don't give you motion sickness. I'm really working on that. I'm going to try hard not to bump the table. Let's get started though. Let's talk about the topic at hand, alone versus lonely. Now, the older I get, the more insanely aware I become of how people speak without thinking. You know, it's like they have zero filter, they have zero thought process, and they also have zero knowledge of the topic at hand. But that doesn't stop them from speaking. No, siree. They just speak as if it's infinite wisdom, and it's not. It becomes very obvious when they are talking about things like divorce and they've never went through a divorce, and you're on your divorce journey and everyone has an opinion on the way they feel and what they need to share with you, just in case you need to be straightened out. Everyone has something to say, and it doesn't always make sense. If you're ready to unpack this with me, buckle up, gorgeous. It's time to rise. Okay, so here's the deal. We have all heard these comments. If you're on any sort of social media, you do see these responses, these things quite regularly. And it's comical. It truly is. And if you're like me, just a little bit on the snarky side, I'm sure in your head you have thought up responses that you would love to just spout out. But we refrain, we don't engage, we don't waste our precious time and our emotional energy on people who just don't understand. Now, I come up with perfect responses, and I'm sure that you do too. And boy, they would be hilarious. But again, waste of our time, waste of our emotional energy. And are these strangers even really worth the time? Nope. So we just entertain the thoughts in our own head, get a little chuckle out of it, and carry on. But you know what? Just once, just one time, I'd like to have a little bit of fun with the response. It might go something like this. I know. If I don't lower my standards soon, I'm going to die alone in my clean house with my regulated nervous system, my bathroom sink that doesn't have facial hair in it, surrounded by all my supportive friends, and a peace like no other. I better get on it. Wouldn't that be fun? Just once. And I don't know what the comments would be. Do you think they'd pick up on the sarcasm? I don't know. Maybe. Probably not, though. Really, probably not. Let's talk for just a moment, though, about the difference between being alone and being lonely and how it relates to marriage and divorce. The word alone, if you look it up in the dictionary, has several different definitions. The first one is having no one else present. Typically, that's referring to a physical state of being. An example would be, I was alone last night. Another definition, if you go a little bit further in the dictionary, is on one's own. The example would be, I live alone. So, yeah, if I'm divorced, I don't have a spouse anymore. I am the only one physically present. So, I am alone. However, there are many women who are married who feel very alone. They feel like they are a single married person. They feel alone in the marriage, even though somebody is physically there. And that is another definition of alone. It is without others' help or participation, single handedly. For many women, that is how they felt in their marriage. If you know, you know. A single married person, no help, no participation in the marriage, single handedly doing it on your own. They're single handedly showing up, doing the work, even if the spouse is physically present. The word lonely is different than the word alone. Lonely describes a feeling. You can be alone and lonely, but just because you are alone does not mean you feel lonely. You can be alone and feel energized and happy and peaceful and have joy and not feel lonely. That's a strong reality for divorced women. If you look up the definition of lonely, you might see sad or feeling unhappy. And that is due to perceived, and I'd say not just perceived, it's very real, a lack of companionship or connection. A woman can feel lonely in a group. A woman can feel lonely with her spouse because there is no connection, there's no companionship there. It's not present. So you can be with someone and feel very lonely. And I do believe that we can all relate to that. if you were married to a high conflict personality person, if you were married to a person who displayed toxic behavior, it was a toxic relationship, or you were married to somebody who had narcissistic behaviors, displayed those, you understand feeling lonely, but being in a relationship. It's very one sided. Women will share with me sometimes how now divorced, they don't feel lonely nearly as often as they did when they were in their marriage. Interesting. Hmm. Why is that, do you suppose? Several different reasons. When you are divorced from the high conflict personality, toxic relationship, narcissistic behaviors, you've left that behind and you can start working on you, the things you enjoy, rediscovering what lights you up, what is fun for you, reestablishing or forming new friendships, and investing time, being able to invest time and energy into nurturing and growing those relationships. And you suddenly have friends and friends that you enjoy being with, and you don't feel lonely with them. Very true situation, very true result for women after they leave their marriage. They are learning about themselves, they are understanding themselves, they're feeling good in their own skin. And it shows. So, meaningful activities, meaningful friendships, that pushes the loneliness, the feelings of loneliness aside. And that's why you see divorced women who kind of glow up. They're in their glow up era, so to speak. They also get to spend time with their family and they are finding peace in their solitude. And that's huge. Peace in your solitude, huge. But what about those times when you do feel lonely? You know, we're not immune to it. I'm not immune to it. I do feel lonely sometimes. What should you do? Let me share an example from my own life. This would have been probably about a year and a half after my divorce was final. And I had already been using my Trigger Day toolkit that I talked about in episode 3. And so I planned for this day. It happened to be the day that my children's dad was getting remarried. And I didn't know how I'd feel about it. I didn't know how I would feel that day. I knew that I would be alone. The child that was living with me was going to be going to the wedding, and I knew that all three of my boys were going to be at the wedding. How was I going to feel? Was it going to be any different from any other day? Well, I planned for it. I planned in case it would feel different, in case it would hit different. So I planned a day date for myself. I enjoy going to wineries. So I planned to go on a little road trip, not very far away, maybe 45 minutes away. I had been doing some research about this winery that I wanted to go to. I thought that it was going to be kind of nestled out in the country. I felt like it was going to have a really good, just a good feel to it, being out in nature, things to see. I could walk some trails. I could drink some wine, have a charcuterie board. I'm kind of into that as well, having a little bit of something to nibble on when I'm drinking my wine. And so I took myself on this day date and I drove the countryside and I stopped at the winery. I ordered, I sat by myself, I listened to the birds. It was a beautiful sunny day for later fall. And I had a wonderful time. And I ventured home and I watched a movie, and the day was actually quite enjoyable. Didn't think about anyone or anything at all during that time. What I wasn't expecting, though, is how I would feel the next day. That's when I felt lonely. Let me explain. I was at my house and I had two of my boys were there. I don't know why two of the three were there. And then one of the girlfriends was there. And they were talking in the kitchen about the wedding. And they were talking about the wedding dance. And they were talking about some of the people that were at the wedding. And it kind of made me a little bit sad because some of those people, ex in laws, that I still cared about, but I couldn't have a relationship, I felt sad because I missed them. I missed out. I missed getting to see them and talk to them. And that was hard. And then my kids continued to talk and they mentioned one of my friends that happened to go to the wedding. That hit a little bit different. Sad, yeah, maybe a little bit. Angry. I felt some anger bubbling up. My friend went to the wedding. Why? I I couldn't come up in my head with a reason why that friend and her spouse would be going to my children's dad's wedding. Why? She was my friend. Why did she go? What was that all about? And it made me angry. And sometimes when I get angry, I cry. And I could feel it. I could feel that the tears were going to start to bubble up. And I thought, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I'd spent yesterday planning a fabulous day. What do I do with this feeling here and now that I didn't anticipate? So I got my dog. I said, come on, let's go for a walk. I harnessed him up, got his lead. We went out the door and I hit the sidewalk and the tears, they came and they were angry tears. And, sometimes when you're walking and you're angry and you're talking out loud, and I was talking it out, and the audacity of her to go to that wedding, and she didn't even let me know that she was going to this wedding. And a couple of weeks later, I was supposed to go to her son's wedding. I don't want to go to her son's wedding. I don't want anything to do with this. And just all of the crazy talk going on in my head. And I thought, Marilee, take a breath. So I started to regulate my breathing and I started to get in a rhythmic pattern, my breathing and my walking. I dried up my tears. I allowed myself to feel that feeling though. And I actually did feel my feelings for a couple of days. I got back to the house, went up to my room, got out my journal. One thing you're going to learn about me, if you haven't already picked up on it, is I journal a lot. I journal out my feelings. And it's something that I really do encourage other people to do because journaling has helped me so much. And I really feel like it can be a very powerful tool for people. So over the next couple of days, I would feel the feelings and I would journal about them. And you know what happened? I ended up having to make a really tough decision about that person, whether that person was going to be involved in my life, whether I was going to allow them to be in my life any longer. And I'll talk about that at another time. That's going to be another episode topic that I touch on about friends and family and when we have to make tough decisions, whether we're going to allow people to continue to be a part of our life or not, and what it means for us. But in that particular time, in that particular moment, I felt what I was feeling and I put it on paper. And I felt very lonely. I felt alone and I felt lonely, but I processed it. And that's what's so important as you're on your healing journey is to process what you're feeling, to not just shove it under the carpet, lock it in the closet, get to it later. You have to go through your feelings. You can't go over them, under them, around them. You can't hide them. they'll fester and they'll eat you alive. So, feeling the feelings, and that day, the day after that I was not planning for, I was lonely and sad and angry. And I used items from my toolkit. I go for a walk, journal it out, deep breaths, regulate my nervous system to get myself to a place where I could feel the feelings. It's hard, it's not easy work. You know that this journey that you're on is not simple. It's not easy, but you're strong and you can do it. And I'm here to help you. Another thing that I do want to stress when you are feeling your feelings, sometimes that initial feeling is just a cover. It's not the in-depth feeling. So I always encourage women to verbalize that first feeling. This is how I feel. This is what I'm feeling. Okay? Write that down. What else am I feeling? What's the next layer? Okay, I'm feeling, and write that down. What's the next layer? And go 5 to 7 layers deep. And when you go 5 to 7 layers deep, you're going to usually get to that root feeling. What is really the deep feeling behind it? So let's talk a little bit about how I was feeling that day. Okay. I initially, when I heard that my friend had gone to the wedding, I was hurt. Okay. So I would journal. I feel hurt because Sally went to this wedding, didn't tell me about it. Okay. I was feeling hurt. What else was I feeling? I was feeling hurt that my children were talking in front of me about what a great time they had and mentioning all the people that I had at one time cared about that were there. And I didn't get to participate. Write that down, process that. And the way I might process that is sometimes in a divorce, there are relationships that you have to leave behind in order to heal fully. Those relationships are not healthy for you. Those relationships cannot exist because the person can't choose a side. They have to choose a side. And if it's your ex's family, they have to choose him most of the time. And most of the time they are going to choose him. So those are 2 layers. What else was I feeling other than hurt? I was feeling angry. What was I feeling angry about? I was feeling angry that my friend had the audacity, my friend, mine, had the audacity to go to his wedding. Okay, process that. What's that look like? Kind of makes you wonder, is she really my friend? I thought she was. We'd talked about a lot of things. I thought she was my friend. Maybe she's not my friend. What am I feeling about that? Oh, there's some different feelings. I feel angry that I was betrayed. I felt betrayal from her. What else was I feeling? I was feeling a a loss of a friendship. Maybe a friendship that I thought was there, maybe was never really there. What else was I feeling? I think that's it. Loss and betrayal, betrayal and loss. Probably betrayal and then the loss would be the proper order. I felt betrayed by her and I felt like it was a loss of the friendship. So we go from being sad to loss and betrayal. See, we have to work through the layers. We don't stop at the surface level. We don't stop at that top layer because there's always layers that go deeper. And just kind of play my head or Play my voice in your head and ask yourself, what else did you feel? How else did that affect you? Go deeper and deeper and deeper so that you can get to that root and you can process that very raw emotional feeling. And that's going to help you on your journey through your divorce and healing following your divorce. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. I do read the comments and I do like to respond as well. And if the episode helped you, it might help someone that you know. So please feel free to share this episode with a friend who might need it too. Just remember, you are not meant to do this alone. Hey, beautiful. Thank you for spending time with me today. And congratulations for showing up for yourself. If today's episode was helpful, share it with a friend and let me know in the comments what resonated most. Your feedback helps me create content that truly matters as we grow this community together. If you haven't already, subscribe and leave a review. It helps this podcast reach more women who need this space. Okay, so here's the deal. You can find me wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. I'll meet you back here next Friday. Until then, remember, you belong here. It's time to rise.